getting over to our 45 degrees, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, we're just like, ooh, super G's in our seat, okay? Hey guys, welcome back. Sam Terrell, the Northwest Aeronaut, and today we are going to be talking some more about steep turns. I know not too long ago I did our commercial maneuver video on steep turns, but today we're going to dig a little deeper and talk about some of the mistakes I've seen being made with steep turns, and really just some of the things I've learned about steep turns recently in doing them myself in new airplanes like the Twin. They're going through my multi-training, and so I wanted to share some of those things with you today. So, there are two words I'm going to share with you that's really going to help you be successful with any and every maneuver you have to do on any check ride. Those two words are slow and smooth. We want to be slow and smooth with every maneuver we do. There is not one maneuver in any check ride, ACS, that says you need to abruptly and violently and roughly do anything. And so many people, especially when it comes to steep turns, they just go put on their fighter pilot hat and they're just banking over, straight over to 45 degrees, yanking on that yoke, and it just causes problems. Their airspeed goes down, their altitude shoots up, whatever the case is. Maybe that's the opposite, they're diving at the ground. All because they're too rushed in establishing themselves first before the maneuver and then getting into the maneuver. So we're going to talk about slow and smooth today. So here's what you got to understand. For any given bank angle, there's a certain degree of back pressure that's going to be required in order to maintain altitude. And obviously the less the bank angle, the less amount of back pressure. So right now I'm doing just a nice standard rate turn, about 15 degrees or so. And I really don't have to, the amount of back pressure I have to put in is almost imperceptible. Like, I don't even have to touch the yoke. And we're maintaining altitude just fine. Now, over time, we might start to drop the nose and I just need to pull it back, but it's such a small amount that we don't need to really do much. If I increase the bank angle over to, say, 30 degrees, then I am going to really start having to put in just a little tiny bit of back pressure. Okay, but I'm just using my fingertips here. And then certainly as we go over to 45 or more degrees, it's going to require even more back pressure. So as we're rolling into steep turns, the big mistakes I see are, number one, coordination, right? As always, in an airplane, whenever we move the yoke, we need to move our feet with it. Otherwise, our turn is not going to be coordinated. So we need to make sure we're maintaining coordination both in and out of the turn. Anytime we bank, it doesn't matter if we're banking into a turn or we're banking out of a turn, you need to use rudder. But aside from that, I'll see two different things happen. Either people will start to bank really slowly and do excessive back pressure too early. This is going to cause a decrease in airspeed and a rise in altitude. Then there's the other scenario where people don't do any back pressure. They roll into the turn, maybe fast, maybe slow, but only once they get to that 45-degree point do they even begin to think about putting in back pressure. Now, depending on how fast you're rolling into the turn, you may or may not see some success with that method. But again, it's a little bit on the aggressive side. It's a little on the violent side. We don't want to just be like getting over to our 45 degrees and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, we're just like, ooh, super G's in our seat. Okay? So the whole entry to the maneuver should be nice and smooth. Your passengers, the DPE, your instructor, yes, you're going to feel G's, but it's not that much G's. It's only 40% more than you're used to. And if you're doing it right, it shouldn't be jarring. Okay, it should be, okay, I feel a little different, but this is fine. All right? So by doing the proper application of back pressure as you're banking into the turn for the given bank angle at that moment, that's what's going to make for the smoothest and most accurate entry to this maneuver. All right, so we're going to get our heading back to, we actually got Mount Hood ahead of us right now, and that's going to be perfect. We're going to use Mount Hood. Now let's talk about airspeed once again. The ACS says you need to maintain airspeed plus or minus 10 knots, and it's not to exceed maneuvering speed. So, what does that mean? It means we should choose a speed that's 10 knots under maneuvering speed. That gives us the full range of airspeeds to utilize should we need it. Now, with that said, if you're doing the maneuver properly, you shouldn't need it because your airspeed shouldn't move. But our maneuvering speed is 112, which is what we're at right now, and we're going to slow down to about 100. Okay, again, we're in miles per hour here in 6.5 kilo delta. So 10 knots is actually 11.5 miles per hour. We get a little bit more buffer in this plane than most planes. But we're going to be using our visual reference. Remember, these are visual maneuvers. You should not be relying solely on any type of heading indicator for your heading. You should be picking a visual reference and then back it up with your heading indicator if needed. Okay, but it's a visual maneuver. All right, here we are at 100. As we get into this maneuver, we're going to add just a little bit of power because, as we know, anytime we turn an airplane, we increase the amount of drag on the airplane. That's going to slow us down. So in order to maintain airspeed, we're going to just add about 100 RPM, give or take, just a small bump in power as we roll into it. And then from there, as long as we're maintaining level flight, nor your airspeed or altitude should change. And we're going to be using our ears throughout this maneuver because you will be able to hear if your engine is revving up or slowing down, or if the wind over the airframe is speeding up or slowing down. And if that's the case, you're probably climbing or descending. All right. Okay, here we go. 4,500. We're going to the left first, and then we're going to roll smoothly to the right. 100 miles an hour. We're clear on the left. All right, here we are. 4,500. 100 miles per hour. Rolling into it nice and smooth. Smooth and slow. There's my little power bump. Keeping that back pressure coming as I bank, okay, and keeping that rudder in there. There we are. Now I'm just holding this nice and gentle at that 45-degree mark, okay. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't turn off my ESP. That's going to mess with me. There we go. There we go. Okay, keeping that 45 degrees in there. If I start to lose altitude, I need to unbank a little bit and pull the nose up, then put the bank back in. There's my mountain, rolling smoothly and slowly, releasing back pressure as we come through level into the right turn. Nice and smooth and slow, adding that power back in. Now here, in this right turn, you need to use that right rudder. And most of what you're doing with the aileron is fighting the overbanking tendency the airplane has when going to the right. So you need to make sure you use the right rudder, and then you're actually almost using left aileron to fight that overbanking tendency. All right, we're coming around. I'm keeping that nose up. I take a little bank out to get the nose back up to control my altitude. There's my mountain. I release back pressure as we roll out and take that power back. There we are, right at 100, 4,500. Perfectly within standards and very comfortable for everyone in the plane. All right. So, hey guys, remember those two words, smooth and slow. For everything you do, it is going to make every maneuver much more comfortable, much easier, and it's going to impress your DP and your instructor. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this video if you found it helpful. And until next time, resume your own navigation. See ya.